You'd like to start a career in cybersecurity. You know the best way to get your foot in the door is to get a cybersecurity certification. You're worried though that you're not a good test taker, you may not have the experience required to pass the test, and you're not even quite sure where to begin. None of us were born good test takers. For me, I've taken over 25 cybersecurity certifications and passed the test, but I wasn't a good test taker. I had to become a good test taker, and the way I became a good test taker is by practicing. Fortunately, with almost every cybersecurity certification there's many test questions and test prep software that you can purchase or find for free that allows you to take many practice tests. What's worked for me is taking the practice test over and over and over and over until I am able to get like 90% or more correct. And as I go through that process, when I take a practice test and I don't understand the answers or even the question, I go look those up on the internet or in a book, and then I keep filling the gap in. So if I miss something, I go look it up. I miss something, I go look it up. I miss something, I go look it up. And then eventually that percentage of questions I'm getting right increases to the point where I feel I'm pretty confident about taking the real exam. You need to go through this process so you can understand what type of questions they're going to ask you for a specific exam, what the context of the question is, what sort of common distractors they'll throw at you in the answers, and some of the ways to choose the best answer versus the other answers that may be right, but they're not the best answer based on the scenario or the context of the question. So all this takes practice. We weren't born naturally good test takers. If you're worried you don't have the experience, which I went through this as well, when I was getting out of the military, I was transitioning to a civilian job and I started working on, back then it was the Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer. So I didn't really have the experience. I didn't really know much about Microsoft, but I knew that's the path I wanted to go. I wanted to become certified in that. So even back then, which was quite some time ago, I was able to set up a lab environment. Fortunately, today, technology's progressed quite a bit since when I got certified in the MCSE, and you can set up a virtual lab environment using something like VirtualBox, which is free, and then you can use Kali Linux, which is also free, and you can use the Microsoft evaluation copies, which are good for 180 days. So you can set up your own lab in a box, basically a virtual lab that runs on your laptop or on your desktop, and all the virtual machines you set up can talk to each other. Then you can practice things that might be on the exam you're going to take. So if you're going to take the Security Plus exam and they have questions on there about logs, and the logs questions might be on like IIS or Internet Information Services logs, the Microsoft web server, you can stand up your own Microsoft web server in your virtual lab environment and then get used to looking at the logs that are generated when someone connects to the web server or there's an error on the web server. So you can certainly do all these things to give you the experience, which will help you become more confident before you go take the exam. So having that experience combined with the practicing the questions, those two will really help prepare you for the exam. If you're curious where to start, if you're new to cybersecurity, the best certification to get is the Security Plus. The Security Plus certification lays a foundation for cybersecurity upon which you can build on. It is not an easy certification to get, especially if you're coming from a different career field. If you're coming from IT, it'll be a little bit easier, but if you're coming from a totally different career field, the Security Plus certification is going to be a little bit challenging for you. It assumes you already have basic computer knowledge and basic networking knowledge. The CompTIA Security Plus is like the third certification in their list of certifications. There's A+, which is basic computer knowledge, like what RAM is, what a hard drive is, what a CPU is, how operating systems work. Then there's Network Plus, which is like what a router is, what a switch is, what an IP address is, IPv4 versus IPv6, what a MAC address is. Then there's Security Plus. So going straight to Security Plus, you can do that. The other two aren't prerequisites, but the assumption is you have the A+ knowledge and the Network Plus knowledge before you take the Security Plus. So you're going to have to study quite a bit harder, which is why setting up your lab environment and doing those practice tests are really going to help you. Another way to expedite your learning and fast forward this process is to take a cybersecurity bootcamp. Alpine Security, we offer Security Plus boot camps. It's a 5-day course. When you take the course, it includes the exam voucher, all the materials, and you get a 30-day subscription to a test bank where you can basically take practice tests over and over and over for those 30 days. And then one of the benefits of a cybersecurity bootcamp is it collapses really, somebody's decades of experience into a few days for you, and you can absorb that information much quicker. Plus, it allows you to be entirely focused on the subject. It's often challenging to study on your own when you have all the distractions of your normal life around you. But if you can go to a boot camp, you can immerse yourself in that material and focus much more easily, which will allow you to learn a lot quicker. Beneath this video, I'll drop the link to our Security Plus bootcamp. Hopefully we'll see one of our classes. If not, and you choose to study on your own, best of luck.